So today I want to continue in the same vein as I was talking about the last couple of days concerning the Ezekiel 38-39 Gog-Magog war, which, if you've been watching my videos, you know by now that includes all of Europe, probably all of Africa, probably all of the Middle East, with exception of maybe the Arabian Peninsula, all the way to India. Maybe even the United States. Gog and Magog, right? And a great slaughter of this army is going to take place. A great slaughter. Not only that, a fire. Well, I think we should go there. Let's do this. Let's go to Ezekiel. Do a recap here. Come on. Here you are. Ezekiel 39. We went over very carefully who the nations were that were going to be involved. And it does not leave a whole lot of nations out. And as you can see right here, verse 6, I will send a fire on Magog and among them that dwell with insecurity in the coastlands, and they will know Jehovah. Now, I have gone to the sixth trumpet sound and showed you this before. Sixth angel sounded. Revelation 11 verse 15. I don't know why it took me to the seventh angel, but now you see right here the two witnesses. But we have to go back a couple of chapters to get to the sixth trumpet sound. Now, we learned yesterday, using Joel 3 and Ezekiel 39, that this great slaughter is going to happen because Judah and Jerusalem are going to be used as bait to bring Gog and Magog, all the armies of the Gentiles, to the slaughter. Why? To judge them for what they did to his heritage, Israel, and he's going to bring them there to slaughter them for what they did to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And we also learned yesterday that the lost sheep of the house of Israel cannot be gathered until the seventh trumpet sounds. Why? Because that is when the new covenant will be given to Israel. That is when their eyes are going to be uncovered. That's when they're going to have the blindness taken away from them and they will see. Why? Because of what happens in the sixth seal, the sixth trumpet. Now, why do I say sixth seal, sixth trumpet? Because they're very similar circumstances here. Let me show you the sixth trumpet. And the sixth messenger sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Elohim, not God, saying to the sixth messenger which had the trumpet, loose the four messengers which are bound. They are tied up, they are bound up in the river, great river Euphrates. And the four messengers were loosed, and were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay 1/3 of men. The number of the army of the cavalry were 10,000. But the word is myrias, which means myriad. It is a figure of speech. It's just kind of like a number that's hard to count. 10,000. Now, if you're going to actually do the numbers, 10,000 could mean 20,000. Or it could mean 40,000. And I heard a number of them, and I saw the hippos in the vision. Horses in the vision. And then he just starts describing the horses. It's not like horses that we know. And then that sat on them. So we saw the horses in the vision, and then that sat on them. So the horses had breastplates of fire. I've showed this to you in different videos. How it looks eerily similar to Russian ICBM launchers. Mobile ICBM launchers. I did a video about that earlier. Of jacinth and brimstone. Or hyacinth and brimstone. Hyacinth and brimstone. Now, its usage is dark purple or blue. But back in those days, blue and green were the same. Hyacinth is what color? Well, let's look it up. Okay. Typically purple. They're also green, you see. So purple, green, red. And where is my, what did I do now? Okay. And brimstone. What is the color of brimstone? Yellow. A mixture of orange and yellow color. I showed you a picture of the Russian mobile ICBM launcher, and one of them looked in camo pattern, had those colors, had all those colors. Now, but that was not the point that I'm trying to get to. So I'll go back to it. breastplates of fire, and of hyacinth purple. So the color of fire, hyacinth purple, and yellow. And the heads of the horses were as heads of lions. So they did not like the horses that we know, and out of their mouth issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. And by these three was the third part of men killed by the fire, by the smoke. How does smoke kill people, so many people? Nuclear fallout. And by the brimstone, which came out of their mouth. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. Look up your mobile ICBM launchers and you will see that looks like he might be describing that, for the tails were like serpent's tails. And those tails had heads. Or heads, probably. And with them is how they do hurt or injure. Now, remember, in order for the rest of Israel to be gathered in, the seventh trumpet hasn't sounded yet. The seventh trumpet hasn't sounded yet. What happens now? It says, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of their works of their hands, that they should not worship devils like Jesus and God. That's right, devils. Because Jehovah is the name of the Creator, and Yehoshua is the name of the Messiah, the Moshiach. And idols, graven images of gold, silver, and brass, stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Did they refuse to repent of their murderers? Nor of their sorceries, like the sorceries that the scientists are committing today in the name of medicine. Nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. So we have to go into the next chapter, and the next chapter. Now, the 10th chapter is just the messenger with the small scroll, and he's speaking to Jonah, and he heard 7 thunders that had uttered voices, and he was about to write them down, and he was not allowed to write them down. Seal those things up which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not, because and the messenger which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to the sky, and swore by him that lives forever and ever, who created heaven and earth, and the things that are in the earth, that things that are therein in the sea, and the things that are therein should be time no longer, but in the days of the voice of the 7th messenger, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Elohim would be completed as he has declared to his servants the prophets. So it is a summary of sorts. But the next on the agenda is the 2 witnesses. Now, the 2 witnesses are going to do something, but the 2 witnesses are written about in Isaiah 66. Now, in the beginning part of Isaiah 66, especially right here, rejoice with Jerusalem. Before she travailed, she brought forth. And before her pain came, or it should read, when her pain came, she delivered a man-child. Who has heard such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? shall a people be born at once. For yes, doesn't say as soon as, for yes, for also, in addition, bitterly, Zion travailed. She brought forth her children. To break in pieces, not bring to birth. You see what King James did? He broke Zion into pieces, and now Zion is going to have children, says Jehovah. I beget, and I shut the womb, says Jehovah. He decides when to destroy and when to build up. He decides when the womb is open and when it is closed. Rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad with her, all you that love her. Rejoice for her and you that mourn for her. Why? Because Jerusalem is going to beget again. He has decided, and nobody can stop him. That you may suck and be satisfied but with the breast of consolation. Right? He's going to extend peace to Jerusalem like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream, and then you shall suck and be born on the side and be dandled on her knees. As one whose mother comforts a child, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted, Jerusalem. Now, verse 15. Jehovah will come with fire, with his chariot, with his throne, in a storm, a chufa. To render his anger with fury and his rebukes with flames of fire. For by fire and by sword will Jehovah judge. Yol 3, we just read it. He will judge all flesh, the Gentiles. It said he's going to judge the Gentiles for his people Israel. And the slain of Jehovah shall be many. Who? Those that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one in the midst. Eating swine's flesh, the abomination. The abomination is like the abomination of desolation, whereas the first abomination of desolation was when Antiochus IV offered swine's flesh on Jehovah's altar. So he is saying the swine eaters and the mouse eaters shall be consumed together, says Jehovah. So I know their works and their thoughts. And it shall come that I will collect the Goy, the Gentiles, and the tongues. And they shall come and see my glory. That is, right here, is the Ezekiel 38-39 war. They're going to come against Israel, against the Holy Land. And I will set a sign. What sign? When he flattens them. When he invites all the beasts and all the fowls of the air, the vultures, buzzards, eagles, whatever, to eat and be filled. And then what happens? Now we read, listen carefully, we read in Ezekiel 39, he's going to cause them to come up from the north. And they're going to fall upon the mountains of Israel. And then what happens? Then he's going to send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly with security in the coastlands, and they shall know Jehovah. So the great slaughter, then the fire. Then what? Then the gathering of all, the cleaning up is going to happen right here. And then the gathering of all Israel shall happen. Israel to be restored. When the seventh trumpet sounds. When the seventh trumpet sounds. What is then what are the two witnesses going to be doing? There was given unto me a reed like a rod, and the messenger stood and sang, Arise and measure the temple of Elohim. Well, he was speaking to John at that time, Jonah, at that time, when the temple was still upright. The temple is not there right now and will not be there, in spite of what your false prophets tell you. I believe it's in Revelation 20 or 21 says, I saw no temple there because Jehovah and the Lamb are the temple thereof. But the court which is outside the temple leave out and measure it not, because it is given to the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot for 42 months. And they did. On the Roman calendar, the year 70, they did exactly that. So, verse 1 and 2 was for that particular day and time that this message was given to Jonah. And beginning in verse 3 of this chapter, he says, I will give me my own two witnesses. And also to give me my own two witnesses. And they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. And incidentally, folks, that's one reason why I wear the old sackcloth when I do my videos. Not because I'm one of them, no. It is because Ecclesia dressed herself up in royal apparel, put a crown on her head, and had the cup, the golden cup in her hand, while Synagogue was dressed in slaves' clothes, in clothing of mourning. So when this tribulation comes, I stand with the two witnesses and those people who the two witnesses come to avenge. Now, these are the two olive trees, two candlesticks standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devours their enemies. If any man shall hurt them, they must be in this manner be killed. They have the power over the sky to shut the sky, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. How many days are in their prophecy? 1,260 days. That is 3.5 years. Exactly the 3.5 years plague of no rain that was placed upon the house of Israel by Eliah the prophet. And Eliah the prophet then had to flee. He was a fugitive. He was kept alive by a Zidonian woman who was about to starve to death. A Gentile woman, a woman of the children of Canaan, of the Canaanites. He had to hide, and he hid for 3.5 years. Well, so will the two witnesses have to hide right here. And I will set a sign and send. It says those that escape of them unto the Gentiles. But let's look at this carefully. I will send escaped. So the word is paulit. What does escape mean? Well, if you look at the original word, if I can find it now, keep saying fugitive, okay? Fugitive, fugitive. Escaped one, fugitive. All right? The root word is paulat, a refugee that had escaped. But it's not paulat, it is paulit, which means a fugitive. They're looking for him, they're trying to kill him or them. And of course, if anybody finds them and tries to kill them, fire comes out of there, it says. Fire, in other words, they will call fire down from the sky. They will say the word and fire will come down just like Elijah did. Okay? And this will be going on for a solid 3.5 years. 3.5 years of no rain. Where? Where will they be 3.5 years of no rain? He's going to send them unto the Gentiles to Tarshish. That would be to the Atlantic. To Pul, to Assyria, to Lud. I believe that might be somewhere in Turkey. Those that draw the bow, to Tubal. We talked about Meshach and Tubal yesterday. To Greece. Yavin is Greece. And to all the coastlands afar off, to not that I have not heard my fame, it says to hear my fame, hear my report, to see my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they, the Gentiles, and the two witnesses, shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Jehovah. You see, the timing is right. The great destruction, the great battle, let's I should say the 1/3 of mankind being wiped off the face of the earth. Now let's look at the 7th trumpet, so I don't get. So the two witnesses will be killed. So they are the sign. They send the order. They kill the two witnesses, and then what happens? The kingdoms of this world are now become the kingdom of our Elohim and of his Moshiach. And he shall reign. Okay, hold on. To be king forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Elohim on their seats fell on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, we give you thanks, Jehovah Elohim, which are and were and are to come. because now you have taken to yourself great power and are now reigning. And the nations, the Gentiles, it does not say Israelites, it says the Gentiles now are angry. And your wrath has come in the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that you should give reward to your servants, the prophets, to the Kodesh, the holy people, that's all Israel, and to them that fear your name, those who would not dare use the word God in place of Jehovah, but they fear your name. They do not bastardize the holy name, like we've seen the Catholics do and the Protestants do with the Judenthal. They bastardize the holy name, small and great, and then should destroy them which destroyed the Eretz, which means destroyed the land of Israel, Jerusalem. And it's at that time all of Israel will be gathered together. So there very well be folks. Remember the story of the prodigal son, how the prodigal son was starving to death. And he had no choice but to come back to that land. Why? Because a great famine occurred. And I have warned people on this channel to depend upon the stores for their food today, and not being prepared for the possibility of 3.5 years of no rain before the 7th trumpet comes. To not be prepared for it is not only foolishness, it's a sin. It is a sin. How do you prepare then? Well, you can get pickle barrels. In my area, you have these 65-gallon pickle barrels. You can wash them out, clean them out. They have these nice tops on them that you screw on tops. You can put your favorite beans in it, fill it up. I would say that one barrel will feed one person throughout 3.5 years. I can get another barrel of rice, probably parboiled rice might be better for you if you're diabetic, but if there's hardly any food to eat, you're probably going to have to only eat just barely enough to survive. But how are you going to make the beans keep and not get worms or weevils? Well, you mix diatomaceous earth with it. What about rice? How are you going to make the rice keep? Well, you can use either, I have kept rice for years with bay leaves, but you can mix diatomaceous earth with that. You don't have to use much because insects they cannot live in any environment with diatomaceous earth, and apparently they cannot live in an environment where there's bay leaves either. It's looking like right here there's going to be 3.5 years. I'm just saying it looks like. I'm not saying it is. Looks like there's going to be a nuclear war. Then 3.5 years of no rain with all the plagues. And then the seventh trumpet sounds to gather all Israel back to the Holy Land. And we read the story of the prodigal son, that the lost house of Israel, the younger son, is going to be very, very hungry. Hey, you know what, folks? You were warned. Suit yourself. But when the time comes, when there is no food supply, because there's no water, there's no rain, you can't say you weren't told. You can't say you weren't warned. I've been trying to tell people for years to keep their food supply. It's very simple. Rice and beans. It's not that hard to do. It's very cheap right now. Very inexpensive. But I'm telling you, folks, the day is going to come where people will sell their own children for a bowl of food. Don't be one of those. Be ready. Once again, do not be one of those. Be ready. Now, if you don't know where to find diatomaceous earth, well, first of all, let me show you this. Look, let me show you something, folks. Restaurant. What do you want? You want parboiled rice? £50 bag of parboiled rice. Lots of 36? These people don't play, folks. They've got a whole bunch and they'll ship it right to your door. Alright? What about pinto beans? What about pinto beans? You can go organic or you can go non-organic. Whatever you want. There it is. 20-pound bags at a time or 20-pound boxes at a time. You can get them in singular or lots of 10. Yes, shipping costs, but it saves from you having to go. They work. That's where I got mine. Oh, you don't like pinto beans. You want what? Black-eyed peas? Oh no, navy white beans, white navy beans. Hold on. Maybe they don't have navy beans. Oh look, they do have navy beans. See that? 20-pound boxes or bags. You can get them singular or lots of 7, lots of 10. All you want. And you can go on Facebook Marketplace and you can look for pickle barrels. Watch this. Oh my goodness, what have I done? Not that kind of barrel. This kind of barrel right here, these two. So take a look at these barrels. I don't know why it's not, oh, here we go. So olive barrels and pickle barrels. These tops, you screw on, screw off tops. Like I said, you just have to wash them up. They're like $20 a piece now. Like I said, go on Facebook Marketplace. type in pickle barrels, and it smells very badly like vinegar in them. You can wash them out carefully and use them for your storage, for your beans, and for your rice. You can use these barrels too. They're essentially the same thing. Folks, the future does not look good for this world. You need to understand this. And I wanted to show you this. Now, please, folks, do not pay Epoch Times money to see this movie. Because what you would be doing, essentially would be doing, is you would helping further the false narrative, the Antichrist narrative. Now I want you to listen very, very carefully to the intro. Well, if we can get there. Come on.
The last thing we need.
Hold on, let's get back.
Maybe because of that.
I don't know why this is not acting right. Please bear with me.
Million people are watching this broadcast around the globe. No one has seen my questions but me.
How are you, sir?
Alright, I gotta start at the beginning, I guess. It's called An Interview with the Antichrist.
Horrible locusts in London. God help us.
Now, hold
Across
on.
the country,
What did you just
horrible
say?
locusts in London.
Okay, they're talking about locusts in London, right? They're talking about plagues. They're talking about the plagues, probably talking about the plagues of the two witnesses. All right? So whose side are you going to be on? Are you going to be on the side of the two witnesses like me? Or are you going to be on the other side? We'll continue.
God help us.
Across the country, an ominous pattern.
No justice! Peace!
Huge peaceful protests by gays demanding justice.
Empty grocery store shelves.
Appeared in the supposed rapture. The shelves are empty.
What supposed rapture? What do you mean? Well, I've discussed what the rapture really is. You see, this movie by Epoch Times, how do I say this? A pro-Trump, pro-American news organization pushing how do I say this? Pushing a false narrative. It's hard for me to describe, but we'll listen to the intro and listen very carefully for the clues.
To those
Across
who
America,
want
a
to turn
boom.
this into something that it's not, please stop.
Then, mostly under the cover of darkness, violence erupted, with chaos lasting well into the night. In New York,
John,
intense street
riots
battles
and
between
anarchy
police
continue
and
to
people
spread
raising
across
the
America
target
as
of
the
the
world
city.
descends into
Protests
chaos.
in
3 years after
Famous
millions
shops like
disappeared,
Chanel,
there is
destroyed.
nowhere that
3 years after millions disappeared. False narrative. You heard the correct one yesterday. You heard the truth yesterday. This is a false narrative. But the plagues will come. Very likely while you and I are watching it unfold in our very own homes.
it is
The
safe.
mayor just changed course and ordered a curfew from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning as we gear up for more.
It happened so suddenly. This man came to power and ordered everyone to have his mark.
Much of the world already has the mark of the beast. What this narrative is saying is that the people who are bringing the plagues is the, as they say, Antichrist. But as you know, reading Revelation 11, the people who bring the plagues are in fact the two witnesses who stand with Jehovah. You see what they've done? You see the deception here. This is a Christian right news organization. Pro-American, pro-Trump, Christian right news organization that made this movie that they're trying to sell you for $7 or whatever.
The mark of the beast, in order to buy groceries. The immense upheaval that came upon the entire world. Six months ago, I snagged an exclusive interview with the Antichrist. Yes, the Antichrist. The world will finally know who this man really is.
This is a abominable and ridiculous false narrative here, folks. Trying to make the two witnesses look like their enemy. Then again, maybe the two witnesses will be the enemy of the world. After all, the world, the Gentile world, was responsible for the destruction of Jerusalem. Therefore, I stand with the two witnesses, or what these people claim is the Antichrist. And listen to his questions. You'll see what I mean. The guy in blue is supposed to be a news reporter, and this guy right here is supposed to be the Antichrist.
Shall we begin?
Alex Carter, reporting live. I'm here with Joseph M. Rasputin, head of the World Center Organization, WCO. It is estimated that over 2 billion people are watching this broadcast around the globe. No one has seen my questions but me. How are you, sir?
As good as can be. Thank you, Alex. I'm sorry we have to meet in Brooklyn, but the world is at war right now.
You, sir, are originally from Eastern Europe?
Yes, I am. But now I own the world. Who cares?
As you know, there are locusts that have rained down on the world, killing hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, there is nothing I can do about that.
Yes. But what about the rest of the world population? This has devastated our drinking supplies.
You see what the reporter did? He is accusing the Antichrist for destroying the world's drinking supply. Let's go to Revelation 11. I will give power unto my two witnesses, or it should read, I will give my two witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth, like I am right now. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the Elohim of the earth, and if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth. In other words, they will call fire down from the sky, and the fire will destroy them, destroy their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must be in this manner be killed. And they have the power to shut the sky, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. We just talked about that. And have the power over the water to turn them into blood. So you see, this man right here in this little Epoch's Time movie is actually, as he says, blaming the plagues on, as he says, the Antichrist. So that means the two witnesses dressed in sackcloth is their Antichrist, and those two witnesses were sent by Jehovah, which means they view, the world views, the Father as an evil force. I hope you caught that.
What are your emergency plans at this point, sir?
We have none. We are out of options.
The persecuted Christians don't believe that.
They can believe what they want to believe. I don't care.
But you do care, sir. You've killed hundreds of thousands of people for simply possessing a Bible.
That's a false narrative, once again. The beast was exposed yesterday for what the beast really is. And the world is going to accuse the two witnesses. Is what's going to happen. And then when their real Moshiach comes on the seventh trumpet, they're going to call him the Antichrist and try to destroy his kingdom. And the reason why is because they never bothered to read the prophets, because the prophets implicate the Gentiles. Instead, they only would read the 15th catechetical lecture of Cyril of Jerusalem. And Cyril of Jerusalem's narrative is exactly polar opposite of the truth written in the prophets and in the book of Revelation. And I have done a video on that already. So I'm telling you now, I'm telling you again and again and again, I have said it over and over and over again, you cannot blame me. When a third of the world of mankind suddenly wiped out by nuclear war or some other kind of, or maybe it says by fire, brimstone, and by the smoke. You cannot tell me you weren't warned that it wouldn't happen. You cannot tell me you weren't warned that there would be 3.5 years of no rain upon the earth. You cannot tell me that you weren't warned that there would be a great, great famine in the land, like I pointed out to you in the story of the Prodigal Son yesterday. You can't tell me that you weren't warned exactly how many days it was going to be, this great famine. Do you know how many calories you need a day? Better start doing some calculating. Better get to work. Some of you have 5 or 6 people in your family. Better go find you some room. And get ready to, especially those of you living in your ivory towers in your gated communities. prepare to abandon ship, prepare to leave your property. Because the rich are going to be targets. Diatomaceous earth. You can get 25 pounds for $30 of food grade diatomaceous earth that will be more than enough for 100 barrels of food. I showed you how to do it, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. I've published for free over 500 videos talking about the new covenant for Israel and how the world is going to have to pay, the Gentile world is going to have to pay dearly for the destruction of Jerusalem and the dispersing of Israel. I've also pointed out that the people of Israel, when they were in the land of Egypt, the plagues took place before they departed the land of Egypt. Do you think that it's going to be any different this time? You need to think long and hard about this, folks. Thinking that somehow that you're going to be raptured into heaven when all the world suffers. Well, Israel is going to be taken to their homeland again. But once again, read the story of the Prodigal Son. The younger son is the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Joseph, Ephraim, the lost 10 tribes. They're going to be coming home with no food in their belly. They're going to be hungry because there's going to be a great, great famine in the land. It's coming, folks. You can just sit there and do nothing and wait for it to happen and wish somebody helped you. Or you can do what you can. Remember Joseph, while he was in Egypt, when the 7 years of famine came, what did he do about it? Nothing. Did he do nothing? No, he did something about it. I would strongly suggest that each and every one of you listening take the example of Joseph literally.